Morning, how you doing? Welcome to another time in the upper room. Welcome to another time, another opportunity and privilege to pray. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. Welcome. We've been doing a study through the book of Proverbs as we lead ourselves in a place of prayer. And we're presently started in Proverbs chapter 10, verse 1. And we're looking at parenting because Proverbs chapter 10, verse 1 tells us that a wise son makes a glad father. And a foolish son makes a grieving mother, you know, pretty much says that one will fail in parenting, it brings sorrow to the parents. When we succeed in parenting, it brings gladness to the parents. So we've been looking at how to succeed in parenting. We've established the fact that succeeding in parenting is not incidental. It is a result. It is a result of what we do or not do. It's a result. It's not incidental, and we can succeed. We can succeed. There are definite prescriptions for succeeding that when we follow, and if we follow those prescriptions, we'll most probably succeed because success in parenting is repeatable. It is established principle and it is repeatable. You know, so we started looking at Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6 in addition yesterday, and it says train up. It says parenting is train up. Parenting is train up. Parenting is train up. Train up a child in the way that child should go, not the way I want the child to go. It says the way that child should go, not the way I think the child should go. Not after the way I grew up, not after some dogma, some tradition, some culture, but the way that child should go. Don't train your child according to some culture tradition, so don't train yourself by some misconception, but the way that child should go. Parenting is not about the culture I come from. Parenting is not about the tradition I come from. Parenting is not about the tribe I come from. Parenting is about the child. Parenting is not about the house I come from. Parenting is about the child, the way the child ought to go. You cannot parent a child you don't know. So parenting starts by knowing your child. Yes, there are established norms already, no doubt. But how we apply those norms to our children is a function of who our children is. Right? Yes, there are norms, there are things that are generic in parenting. But the way we apply it to each child is also a function of who that child is. What works for child A might not necessarily work for child B. What worked for child C might not necessarily work for child D. That memory is stuck in my head. One time I was trying to coerce my first daughter to learning in a particular way, and she was there was a disconnection between the two of us, and I felt ashamed that I could not understand, come to reason the specificity of her personality. She's not the same as my second daughter. She's not the same as my third daughter. My third daughter is a fighter. She can overcome any obstacle that comes her way. She fights from within. She's a fighter by nature. She fights from within. My first daughter has a reading acumen, reads at a level that is far beyond her grade. But to break it down, she's a bit slower in breaking it down. She reads ahead of her class at every level of education she's gone to. Her challenge had been how to break it down. My last daughter has no problem breaking down. She's a fighter. My second daughter, somehow she'll find her way. But when it comes to speed of comprehension, my first daughter wasn't there. So when I began to treat her like I see my second and third, there was a disconnect. I needed to understand who she was. I needed to understand her strength and her weaknesses and find a way to get through to her with the understanding of her limitations. That is parenting. That is parenting. Pray. So talking about Proverbs 10:1, we're talking about parenting. Parenting is about our children, not about us. Bible says, train up a child the way that child should go, not the way we should go. The way that child should go is about our children. We cannot parent unless we understand our children, right? They're generic parenting requirements, but they're all useless if you don't know the child to whom it should be applied, right? You need to understand what are the strengths of your child, what are the weaknesses of your child. Every child has their own strengths and weaknesses. No two children are the same. Every child has their own giftedness, their own blessing. I have three children, three girls. None of them is the same or are the same. They're all different in their different ways, right? There's one that's homely, there's one that is not homely, different. If I try to apply the same thing to all three of them, I'll be a failure as a father. But because I understand who they are, I parent them according to their strength and to their weakness, right? Not that I let them off and give excuses and and give them unnecessary allowance. But I am mindful of what they can do and not do. Yes, the parenting is about also building their capacity, making them able to do more, right? Yes. But you cannot make them do more if you don't respect where they presently are. You can only make something more by respecting where that person is right now. The way to make A more is different from the way to make B more. It's different from the way to make C more. You can want to do all the more you want, but unless you apply it to what is on ground, to the seed on ground, you'll be a failure. I'm a farmer. All seeds are not the same. Different seeds require different condition, different tendering, different culturing to get the harvest that you desire. They're not the same. If I apply the same scheme, the same tendering to all seeds, I'll be a failure. Some will work, some won't work. But if I want all to work, I have to know the seed and know how to tender that seed. So parenting is about our children. We need to know our children. We need to know their strength, their weaknesses, how they learn, and then apply our helping them to the reality that is them, right? So that's train up a child in the way the child ought to go. The child ought to go. This is the way based on what this child is. This is the best way to make this child better. This is the best way to train this child. This is the best way to mature this child. This is the best way to prepare this child for the world, right? So when you do that, so it's a right doing it that the child will not forget. If all you do is just pour everything on the child and say, oh, yeah, turn up a child the way the child should go, so you won't forget. Waste. If it doesn't tap into the personality, if it doesn't tap into the disposition, if it doesn't tap into who that child is, you're wasting your seed, you're wasting your water, you're wasting your tendering, you're wasting your culturing. The word tender itself means that you are taking care of the seed according to the strength, the weakness, and the type of that seed. The word culture means that you are responding to what you see. As you are tendering, you are seeing the response of that child, and you're using that response to help you make that child better, right? It is not a blanket copycat way of doing things. It has to fit the situation. It has to fit the environment. It has to fit the generation. It has to fit the challenges that that child is going through. Because yes, even though we talk about the strength and weaknesses, you also have to be cognizant of the opportunities that are available to that child and the threats that are available to that child. Like I was trying to say yesterday, just the mere fact that I am who I am, they are threats to my children. They didn't grow up the way I grew up. I grew up in face me, I face you. They grew up in flats, in single dwelling, They had a compound to themselves. They grew up in estates that were covered, such that when they start beginning to go out on the streets, they were not used to it. Right, but we had to take the extra step to help them used to it, because irrespective of the opportunities we provided for them, there are threats, because they will still have to go out and mix with other people, both in school, in the workplace, in the market. They will mix with other people. We have to prepare them for that. That is parenting, right? We'll continue tomorrow. God bless you. Thanks for coming along with me. I hope it blessed you. Thank you. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of today. See you tomorrow. Shalom. Bye bye.